Hey everybody, it's Casual Boops coming at you with another video, and today we're going to cover the brand new 114 SP2, the Chinese Tier 10 premium? It's probably a reward tank destroyer. Doesn't make premium credits, it's just a reward vehicle, but you can stick all your premium tank destroyer crews in it and train them up, I guess, and it's a reward for playing ranked battles and super try-harding in ranked. And I think at this point, the only way to get it is to just, crank out some ranked battles. So just real quick, I guess if you're just going to be here for 10 seconds, is the tank good? Yes, I think the tank is very good. It's going to be hard for people to play. It's a very, I think it's a higher skill cap tank because it's a little odd, right? So I don't think everyone is going to be able to jump in the thing and just start cranking out 6k DPG. But I think that good players are going to find a lot of ways to maximize the strengths of the tank and minimize the weaknesses. And I don't think it's game breaking and overpowered and broken or anything like that. I just think it's a fairly solid tank. So there's your hot take, and I'll get into the details. But first, I wanted to just take a second and close up the last video. We did a giveaway for the STRV-K, the first Tier 9 premium tank. And the winner is the Intrepid. Intrepid is the winner, and I will show you now. Let's look at his the footage, and here it is. Okay, so we've got Intrepid is playing alongside an E50, and they're in the dip in El Haluf, and they're doing the things, and he's in an AE Phase 1, and they're just kind of working this corner, and they're up here by themselves against the enemy, and this E50 is kind of trying to work this hill in a way that E50s really kind of shouldn't do, because they don't have great gun depression. And you can see he bounces a shell, but there's like 6 tanks sitting here waiting for him. So this guy gets tracked, and he repairs, but then he goes forward, gets tracked again. So Intrepid, tags people, sees that this guy is perma-tracked, he's gonna die. So Intrepid puts his tank in the way, takes a bunch of hits, pushes the E50 back down the hill. What a bro. I mean, sacrificed about 1,000 hit points to do that. But that E50 survived entirely because Intrepid decided to do that. So this is the kind of stuff that I am looking for. What a bro move by Intrepid, to really, I don't know, help out in a way that you absolutely did not have to. And that is the point. That is the point of the contest. That's what I was trying to go for, and Intrepid absolutely did that. I will say also, if you submitted, thank you very much for doing so. The entire idea that I got from the contest here is I kind of stole. I don't know about stole. I was inspired to do this contest by another content creator, OminousFyxen, and she has a continuous. It's basically all the time. Every month it resets, where she has this contest going. She calls it the Selfless Tanker contest, and I'll put a link to in the description of the video down below. She has a thread on the forum where you basically everything that my contest was is the same thing for her contest, and you just win gold for being a nice person, right? Unflip somebody's tank, and if you're the it doesn't sound like at this moment she's got a whole lot of participation, so the bar is not very high. If you unflip a tank and go submit that, maybe you'll make, I think it's like 4,000 gold. So just go check it out. It's in the description. Everything you did for my contest is the same thing. I think the rules might be slightly different, for how you submit and so on and so forth, but it's the content. The intent of the rules is exactly the same, where you be a nice person, except instead of getting a free tier 9, you get a bunch of gold. So go check that out, and thank you to everybody who participated. And okay, so now we're back to the 114 SP2. What is it? It's a tier 10 Chinese premium tank destroyer, and we'll just hop right into the armor model, because if you looked at the thing spinning around in the garage there, and if you're looking at it here now, it looks chonk. Right? It just looks something about the aspect ratio. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just all the big flat plates. It just looks like a chonker, right? Like a Type 5 or something. But actually, size-wise, it's not that much bigger than a Leo, like a Leopard 1. Like, I don't know what it is. Something about this, it just doesn't look, it looks big, but it isn't. It's actually, it's fairly, fairly low profile, really, for what it is. But I will say, having said that, the armor is non-existent. Now it's 75. I mean, a lot of this, if you're looking straight at it, a lot of times where you're getting, if you're facing your air quote armor in an SP2 toward the enemy, you're getting about 100 millimeters, right? Which is not good. You are not going to bounce rounds in this thing. right? But what it is good enough to do is deflect most HE rounds. I mean, obviously, if you get the side or the back, or oh my god, the back, then you can actually pen HE rounds with this thing. But generally speaking, if you're seeing the front of this thing anywhere, there's a handful of tanks that have high enough pen HE rounds to pen this, like Shit Barns and Death Stars. I think like maybe the Centurion 7-1 has a 210 Hesh round. There's a few, right? The Cax has 120 millimeters of Hesh pen. Super Conk I think has like 120 or something like that. So those tanks with exceptionally high HE pen will be able to pen this thing, but everything else is probably not going to pen straight up with HE. Now, because of the changes to HE, I think you'll probably still do a fair amount of damage. But the point is, this is not like a CDC worth of no armor. It's just like you're just not going to bounce. Like every replay that I've seen from this thing, you are not bouncing anything in this tank unless you get exceedingly lucky off of some crazy auto bounce angle or whatever. But it basically doesn't happen. But what that means is, I tried to play this in a lot of different ways, tried to play it back in some bushes because actually the camo rating's not that terrible and the gun is really nice. You can do that. The gun, it does do that. But really, honestly, the places where I found the most success is playing it in as like a support medium almost. Like, ignore the fact that it says tank destroyer. It's just like a support medium tank. You're not tanking shots, but you're there with some other friends, and when they shoot and then and your friends shoot, then you pop out and you tag them as well. You're like a force multiplier. And so for that reason, it's going to be tougher for new players to learn how to use those kinds of engagements to really maximize the strengths of the tank. But skilled players are going to know how to do that and going to do it really well, and it's going to be really annoying to play against because the thing hits hard. So anyways, that's it. The armor is good enough to not get HE penned, but otherwise it's, if you see one of these, you should tag it because you're probably going to go in. We'll put it that way. And that's about all there is to say about the armor. To the actual stats. So what is the thing? Basically, it's got the same crew layout as the Chinese tank destroyers, but it plays very differently because those have armor, or they're supposed to anyways. 7 degrees of gun depression is fairly comfy. The big thing here, the gun is great. 2800 DPM with 650 alpha feels really solid, right? You kind of slap pretty hard for 650, and you have a full turret, by the way. I forgot that. Yes, you have a full 360 degree turret, which is really nice. And 650 alpha and respectable DPM, and 273 pen is good on the AP rounds. On the premium pen, you get 329, which is also pretty good. And I will say the premium pen kind of drops off pretty far, a lot farther than I would have expected, down to 289 at range. But again, the accuracy, 0.31, and these stats don't look that great, but something about, I don't know if it is just because it moves so slow, and I'll get to that later. But the gun just feels very nice. You don't normally like these soft stats are not like a Grill 15 that just blooms out crazy bad. Actually, I'm kind of curious, just as a comparison. Grill 15. Yeah, so this turret traverse bloom, if you've ever played a Grill 15, you move the turret at all, it just explodes out, right? Just, but 0.38 is awful. This is not anything. This is like, 66% better or whatever. Way, 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 way better. And so the gun feels very, very nice, especially if you're at, mid-range. You can snipe, because 0.31 is pretty good, and you can get that down pretty good. So the gun is very good. I'm just going to say that. 152 caliber means you can overmatch some stuff. Shell velocity is fine. Premium shell velocity is also fine. The gun is just very good. It's just a good solid gun. Now here's the part where things get interesting. So you see this 45, right? 45 top speed, and you're thinking, wow, that's pretty good. Power to weight's okay. But now here we have the Tanks GG must have just added this. So they have these terrain resists that are just god-awful. And so because of that, this must, Tanks GG folks are really up in their game. What this tells you is that the effective top speed of this thing, and I found this to be accurate, on normal level ground and so on, this is about what you're seeing. You're seeing 33, 32. It is not a fast tank. It's certainly, like a 277 is going to go 50, right? This is not, the only time I ever reached 45 was when I was down a hill And a turbo doesn't really help because the terrain resistances are what's holding it back. You know, I tried with the grousers, didn't really help. And so unless you're committed to full-on mobility where you're throwing on like, you know, gas or whatever, and then grousers and turbo and da-da-da-da-da, it does not do 45, right? So it is going to do about 30, which feels pretty not awesome, but you're kind of meant, I think, the best way to play this tank is to be hanging out with heavy tanks and to be the extra gun, right? You know, if your mouse tanks a shot and then you go out and slap somebody anyways. So that's the whole thing. It's just, you know, buyer beware. It does not do 45. Yeah, full turret. View range is fine. Yeah, I think that basically covers the stats. Equipment wise, this one is kind of debatable. I think, you know, where I ended up settling on this thing was like a rammer and then an IRM to get a little more mobility, right? So I could actually turn and stuff, actually for the mobility. And then I think I went with a turbo as well, just because then it does get you up to, you know, 35, but then also the reverse speed goes up a little bit, and you do notice that allows you to pull back from cover. Which is huge, but this is not, I mean, there are a lot of ways to do this, and I think with field mods, you know, can get that mobility slot, I think it has, and so this might make the turbo that much more effective. You know, I just got a rental, so I didn't get the use of the field mods, unfortunately, but this is kind of where I settled with it. I think that if you were to run like vents instead of a turbo, I don't think that's wrong. But yeah, this is kind of it. You get just over 3,000 DPM with 650 alpha. It's very solid. So that is that's the stats. We've talked about equipment and the armor, and yeah, let's get into the gameplay. All right, so we're going to start out watching LadyMae, another community contributor, playing her 114 SP2. And again, if you don't know who LadyMae is, I'll post a link to her Twitch channel down in the description. She's great. You should check her out. And thank you to LadyMae for sending me the replay. Very much appreciated. I didn't have a lot of time to throw at this thing, and it just couldn't really get the tank to cooperate for me. So I'm happy to have a replay from LadyMae to show you guys. So you can show, you know, I can show you at least what this thing is capable of. And you can just see, I think LadyMae has a turbo on it. I think I can hear it. And you can see even now she's going down this hill on the path, and she's only doing 30, 35. Like, it's, you could see that, you know, she paused. She checked up to try to shoot the middle. So that's why everybody kind of got away from her. But even now, we're going flat ground. We're going 30, right? So this is a pretty good indicator. This is part of the reason I showed this replay is I wanted you guys to get an idea of the feel, you know, the look and the feel, and how this thing plays. And we're doing 30. 30 is about where this thing lives most of the time. But you can see the gun. Look at the gun reticle stays pretty tight when you're moving, when you're looking around. But yeah, not a speed demon. I have hardly ever C45 in this thing, so don't be deceived. But we have finally arrived at the fight. I mean, it's not like debilitatingly slow, right? Like, it's not like 20, like mice do 20 or whatever. And I think, again, with field mods, then maybe you could get this thing pepped up a little bit, get some ground resistances, you know, put down. But you see here, LadyMae is doing the right thing, I think, and she's far enough back to support her teammates, but she also has this, you know, she has a good enough gun to be able to try to thread a needle through those rocks. So we'll just wait and see what we can see here, and we're going to go up here. There's only one artillery. I forgot to mention it's a tier 10 only game. There's one artillery each side, and so there's no tier 8s to beat up on, but oh dear lord. Okay, so we found a 50B and a Badger. Instantly going to back up. Good call. This is way too much heat. Sorry, Kronwagen, you are dead. And this is the right play. Unfortunately, the Kronwagen pushed in there too fast, too early, and, you know, not enough cover. And the enemy team pushed with force. So this guy is effectively pinched because the Chieftain in the middle has shots from one side, and these guys have shots from the other side. And look at how tight the gun is, right? LadyMae didn't even stop. She just snapped that shot in. Got the lower plate of the Badger, and you know, makes good trades, right? So 650 trades a lot better than a Badger. This is part of the reason I think the Badger needs some tweaks, because Badger hits for 480, and you hit back for 650, and you're good to go. You just move on. And so now we're going to go back, go down the hill here, and kind of, you know, we don't want to be in a frontal engagement with 4 tanks, so we're going to go and help the T-57, who has found another Badger. And also the 50B flexed as well, so this is, you know, not quite as good, but look at it. Look at how tight that shot was. I actually can't believe that went in. But man, I mean, I'm just trying to give an indication here. Like, the gun will behave. Like, these are close to mid-range shots, and she's just threading the needle all day. And this kind of mirrors my experience with it also, where it just, the gun is great. If I could get this gun on some other tank, that would be awesome. Something with some armor would probably be broken. So she's going to try to side scrape, and, you know, it's not going to work, but that's okay. So she takes a hit from the Badger and unfortunately whiffs the lower plate for a tracking shot, but that's okay. So now the Badger is closing, or isn't he? But we want to wait for our T-57 friend to be re-clipped. And if you're paying attention to the minimap, a lot of their heavy tanks are over on the 8 line, and our guys are on the 8 line. And so, this, you know, we are pushing up on the 2 line. Look at that. Throws a shot in there. There's just no need to... At these ranges, you don't need to stop and aim. The gun is just so good. And she has tapped the 2 key, but again, we're shooting Badgers, so it's whatever. Every one of these shots that's gone in has been like the turret of a 50B or the lower plate of a Badger, so they would have gone in with standard rounds or premium rounds. It doesn't really matter. And so she waits until the Badger has shot. The Badger's on reload. We're going to try to get on the other side and throw another shot in. Boom. This is what you do in this tank, I think. I mean, it can snipe, but this is what you do. You wait for your enemies to shoot once, and while they're on the reload, you pop out and you slap them for 650, and that's what the tank does. So yeah, paying attention to the map there is key, and this is why I think, you know, players that aren't as good are going to have a really hard time maximizing the tank, because if you're treating this thing like a Sturv, you're leaving a lot on the table. I don't think you're really maximizing what the tank can do and what it's good at, and so... But at the same time, if you're leading with face with this thing, you are also going to have a bad time. You're going to evaporate pretty quick. Because you notice, you know, LadyMae has got 2,700 damage so far, but 0 blocked damage. None. You know, she tried to side scrape against the Badger, and Badger doesn't give a shit, honestly. Badger could have penned her literally anywhere. So, you know, unless you get really lucky with some kind of auto bounce thing, you just do not bounce rounds in this at all. So now we have won the 1-2 line. And this is a pretty tricky thing, because do you go back to defend, or do you know, are they going to come back, and this is where you want to be? I mean, this is the part of the game where it's really kind of like, it's like rock, paper, scissors, and you look... Oh. Okay, so that's the first round that didn't go exactly where we wanted in this entire game. But to be honest, it looked pretty solid to me. Like, that was a mid to long range shot, and it was pretty... It looked pretty solid. So, like, the gun is very well behaved. That mouse decided to go swimming, so that's fine. But, like... Look at, oh my god, look at these shots. Like, that's just, I don't know. This is what the thing can do. So now that you're not really meant to be in somebody's face, it also has a good enough gun that you can play the camo-y, sniper-y thing. Like, we're back here. Wait. Okay, we would tag the rock, but you can see, look at just how well behaved the gun is. It's just, you know, it's just like a laser pointer almost. And it doesn't ask a lot of you. We wait for the shot, and even if you need to be trading, it trades so well. 614, it's just dropping bombs. You know, it's not 750, but it sort of feels like it a lot. So now we wait for these guys to make a mistake, and we punish them. Wait for the 1-2-1, get the 1-2-1 gun out of the game. Or we trade, and that's okay. But the thing is, with almost everything in this game, you can trade up. So even if you trade... You know, you take a shot from the 1-2-1 and accept the fact that you're going to probably, you know, take some damage, but you're going to deal more damage than you've taken. So it's worth it, right? I mean, that's what this tank really is good at. And I don't know what Chiefy was thinking there, but, you know, he threw it away. Probably thought the game was over. And, you know, he wasn't wrong. I think if you'd have paid attention to actually taking out the SP2, they probably could have cleaned this game up. But right now, it's LadyMae and an Artie. Somehow it's come down to this. I don't know how that... shit show on the 8 line ended up that way, but here we are. It's just us and an Artie, and it looks like the Artie is going to be reloading, so we're going to try to do some spotting and use the acceptable camo. It's got about the same... I don't know how that happened, but this has the same, like, it has similar camo to like a Leopard 1, right? Which is, you know, for a medium tank, it's pretty good. And so that's pretty much what we're dealing with here. But the other thing is, this has, you know, that 152mm caliber gun. You might be thinking, like, oh, why does that matter? Well, it matters because of... right there, because of that. Because you can overmatch Sturvs, and you don't have to worry about it. Like, I would rather have a 152 than a 120mm caliber gun, because that makes it a lot easier to overmatch all the Sturvs and everything else. So that's pretty huge. Like, like I said, I don't think that this is going to be one of those just... Wait for this. Oh my god, look at these shots. That was almost... I don't know. The gun is just super well behaved, but I think the tank is good in the right hands. And LadyMae is definitely showing us how it's done. Congrats to her. But I think the tank is very good, but also it's not gonna be one of those just, you know, like an Object 268 V4 when it was first released, where you could just kind of roll your face on the keyboard and get a 60% win rate. I don't think that's where this is going to be. I think it's just going to be good players are going to have a good time. Bad players probably aren't even going to be able to get their hands on it, to be quite honest. But if they do, they're probably not really going to have a great time in it, to be honest. Yeah, it does require you to use your noggin. So, all right. So at the end of the game, LadyMae ended up with 5,594 damage and 4 kills with 0 block damage. I'd like to point that out again. Ended up with a first class, which, you know, again, I'm not here to say that this is the best game that has ever been played, but I wanted to show this one to you specifically because I felt like this really exemplified the strengths and the weaknesses of the tank. You know, it didn't block any damage, but LadyMae took the tank exactly to where it was supposed to be, you know, in there with the support tanks, supporting her, you know, T-57 friends and her other heavy tank friends. That's, I think, how this tank is meant to be played. And so I just wanted to show it to you that way, which, anyways, the game ended up with 1,143 base XP, and I think she ended up costing herself 37,000 credits, unfortunately. But, you know, you don't play tier 10 to make credits, and she did tab the 2 key, and I think most of them penned. I think she whiffed 1 or 2. Yeah, a couple went into the rocks and 1 went into the tracks of the Badger, but otherwise, you know, it's not like you need to shoot gold all the time. So I think, you know, it's going to be a solid like middle ground where it's, you know, you won't need to spam APCR constantly. So you probably could do okay with this thing most games. So anyways, that is the tank. Hopefully this has helped you decide whether you care enough about ranked battles to try to try hard that and get one of these for yourself. Or maybe this has helped you decide that that's not something you care about, and maybe I've just saved you dozens of hours of your life. Anyways, yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I've played with it a little bit, and you know, it's kind of a weird tank for sure. So that's all I've got. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. All right, thanks.